Hi everyone, my name is James Ivey with Studiospares. SSL or solid state logic are probably best known for their large format studio consoles from the 80s and 90s, but these days they are making just as much of a splash in the home, project and bedroom studio space with their new range of interfaces, plugins and rack mount processors. Their latest creation comes hot on the heels of the UF8 8-fader control surface, but this time we're talking plugin control with the new SSL UC1. So, if you're taking a first look at the UC1 and thinking, that looks a lot like an SSL channel strip and bus compressor, you'd be absolutely right. UC1 brings the familiar control and layout of the SSL Channel Strip 2 and Bus Compressor 2 to a dedicated hardware controller. UC1 is beautifully made. It's an all-metal construction in much the same style and attention to detail as the UF8. Some might say they were even designed to sit together. Who knew? So without any more faffing, let's take a closer look at the new UC1 from SSL. Let's start with the hardware. UC1 is divided into 4 main sections, starting bottom middle with the control and selection section. We start with the main channel selection encoder and the secondary or bus comp encoder. Above the channel encoder we have a readout letting us know which channel it is we have selected. We also have a screen telling us the channel selection and giving us feedback on the current selection and value. There are then 4 buttons that allow us to select and assign presets to both the Channel Strip 2 and Bus Comp 2. We can also alter the signal routing through the channel strip with 10 different options. In this section we also have the ability to launch the SSL 360 software and toggle zoom mode, but we'll come back to this shortly. On the left of the UC1 we find the EQ section with the classic layout of the filter section and SSL EQ, which I'm sure all engineers will recognise. Each encoder has its own LED halo which dims if you put the EQ or the full channel strip into bypass, which is a nice touch. And you can flip the 9000G style EQ into E mode at the touch of a button. On the right of the unit we have the compressor and the expander gate sections, and at the bottom the channel master controls with the master channel bypass, polarity invert, solo and mute or cut controls, a solo clear, a sidechain listen function, and a fine control which can be latching or momentary to allow for very accurate controls of all the UC1 parameters. Either side of the center section we have black strips with gain and metering for the input and output. Finally, in the center of the unit we have the bus compressor controls with that trademark moving coil gain reduction meter, but with added ratio functionality as well as 2 and 4 times oversampling options. Remember that UC1 is a plugin controller, and any controller is only as good as the thing that it controls. And I'm very pleased to say that SSL have done a fantastic job of the upgrades and tweaks to their Channel Strip 2 and Bus Compressor 2 plugins to make them sound even more realistic and authentic to the real hardware. You load the plugins into your insert slots in your DAW in the normal way, and the UC1 picks them up and allows you to scroll through them using the channel or bus comp encoders. It's worth noting that you are limited to 8 bus compressors, but you can have as many channel strips as you need to populate your session. In this case, I have the SSL Channel Strip 2 on all my main channels, and the Bus Comp 2 on the drum bus and master fader. Now, where things get really interesting is when we hit the 360 button. UC1, in much the same way as the UF8, runs under the watchful eyes of the SSL 360 software. SSL 360 must be running, but by hitting the 360 button on the UC1, or by scrolling back to it in your desktop, we can open the plugin mixer. This brings controls for all the SSL channel strips and bus compressors in your session together in a very handy mixer layout. Hitting the magnify key zooms me right into the channel GUI for fine tweaking. We can also show and hide the bus compressors and toggle between any we have in the session. Again, please remember, in this case, the number of channels in the plugin mixer is the same as in my actual DAW session. This is because I've chosen to add a channel strip to each of the channels in my session. I could reduce the complexity of the plugin mixer by not having a channel strip on every channel. This might make the plugin mixer more of a stem mixer and would be a really smart way to control a vast session with just a small number of faders, but that is up to you. I mentioned earlier that UC1 and UF8 shared the same stylist. Well, slap them together and you get a fantastic DAW plugin control solution. Sadly, right now there's no way to fix the two units together like you can the Avid Artist series, for example, but I don't see that being a major challenge to the SSL team. I love the idea of a pair of UF8s around a UC1 center section, or is that just me getting carried away? The SSL UC1 is available now from Studiospares. If you have any questions about the UC1 or any of the SSL range, please do check the website studiospares.com, or why not reach out to our team who are always ready to help. But for now, my name's James Ivey from Studiospares, and I'll see you again very soon.